So as we explore ways to face challenges in the global community, we have to go back to this concept of global governance or world government. Remember that earlier in the course we talked about anarchy, we talked about international anarchy and the lack of a central authority, the importance of a lack of a world government. Well, let's return to that concept now about global governance as opposed to global government, right? We know that the global community does not have a world government. We know there isn't a central authority. There's no elected official that makes decisions for the global community. But there is this concept of global governance. And again, Professor Rebecca Cruz joins me to talk about this concept and what it really means. Now that we've made this distinction between global government and global governance, let's talk a little bit about what that means. Professor Cruz, is global governance possible? I mean, we kind of understand that global government isn't possible. It's not like we're going to go out and elect a world leader. But is global governance possible? How do we know global governance?
Well, to some extent, we do try to govern the international environment, and we have organizations. You've mentioned a couple, and throughout this course, the European Union is regional governance, perhaps, the UN, the greatest organization that attempts to govern internationally. I think it's also important to point out that countries do this when it's in their best interest. They're willing to give up a degree of sovereignty to join organizations that will then assist them in some function or another. But they only adhere to those decisions when it continues to be in their best interests.
So let's pick up on that, self-interest. So some would suggest that states within the global community actually engage in collective action because it's in their self-interest to do so. And I want to refer back to concepts like neoliberalism, for example. But nonetheless, there are lots of global problems, and there are so many of them that countries cannot solve on their own. So they have to come together in order to govern issues like, let's just talk about some examples, pollution. The law of the sea. Let's talk about the law of the sea treaty. Let's talk about maybe maritime security, right? The management of the oceans and rulings on the high seas, if you will. I mean, that's one way in which we govern the global community, is it not?
It is. Like-minded countries that are concerned about these issues come together in various ways. They can come together and sign treaties, sign conventions. They can form an organization or be part of an organization that deals with those issues. And they often will use reputational costs or reputational concerns to make other countries adhere by those requirements. But these are not absolute, of course. We do have a law of the seas. It's prohibited that you pollute in certain areas. You're supposed to respect that. Countries that have signed on are supposed to respect that. And yet we have some signatories that don't. And we also have some that have not signed on that clearly do not either. So we can have those attempts, but they're only as good as the weakest link.
Well, there are thousands and thousands of these kinds of agreements, treaties, organizations that do attempt to govern the global community, if you will. But you raise this important point of compliance and enforcement. I mean, who forces states, governments, individuals to comply with these types of regulations?
Really, there is no set compliance. We'd say even the United Nations has no teeth. They cannot take a country and charge them with failure to comply to some protocol or some convention. What they can do, again, is use reputation. They can shame a country for not complying. They can use sanctions, can hit them economically. We see this happening in Iran right now, where sanctions have been placed on there, preventing countries from buying oil there, and trying to kind of squeeze the governments there to then comply by some of these decisions. But when it really comes down to it, there is no compliance guarantee.
Well, clearly global governance is a tricky concept, but something that happens on a daily basis and something that's going to continue to happen given the global community really is an interdependent one. But what do you think? Global government, would that be preferable? Global governance, is it possible? Let us know.